Reconnect and heal today. Welcome to Love Never Dies with Dr. Jamie Turndorf.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Love Never Dies Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and it is my pleasure to be with you today. So I have a question for you. Are you ready to be a servant leader? If you said yes, then you're going to want to stick with me today and meet my guest, Dr. Dorothy Martin Neville. Dr. Dorothy is the founder of 4 companies and a licensed psychotherapist, and she supports women executives through leadership coaching to get out of their own way while recognizing and living their purpose, as well as creating a culture of purpose within their organizations. Dr. Dorothy has supported highly successful women from all levels of success, Park Avenue, New York City, to a small town even in Maine. And she talks about patterns and similarities in leadership that are readily understood as she brings extensive wisdom and knowledge and experience to the table through her system, which is called the 5 Archetypes of Leadership. Combining this with her recognition that mindset and communication skills set us women apart, and her ability to make the complicated simple, Dr. Dorothy brings her message in her role as a speaker, trainer, coach, and consultant. In the world of medicine, Dr. Dorothy, certified in 9 modalities of integrative healthcare, founded the Institute of Healing Arts and Sciences, establishing a pioneer 4-year program in energy medicine and personal transformation, supporting medical and non-medical personnel in understanding the psycho-spiritual correlates of physical disease and disorders. For 19 years, she and her staff worked to support these practitioners who had lost touch with their desire to heal, as well as those same non-medical students who were seeking healing in transforming their approach to both a medical practice and to life. And as a result of the required 2-year medical internships, her institute became aligned with over 50 hospitals and or medical facilities across the country, beginning or expanding integrative health departments to support her students' training. She's a clinical instructor at the University of Connecticut's Medical School, co-chair of the advisory board of a multi-million-dollar Frontier Medicine grant, and recipient of NIH grant funding for a quantitative and qualitative pilot study on the psycho-spiritual correlates of fibromyalgia. She spent years immersed in the work of merging allopathic and integrative health. And she's now seeking to support those in the business of medicine in creating a cultural shift to a heart, soul, and patient and practitioner-focused healthcare culture. And it's there that practitioners and support staff are able to be encouraged while they are providing multidimensional healing to patients when they are most vulnerable and in fear. And as head of the health committee of a UN Global Summit in the fall of 2019, she's bringing this message as a global need. So I think, Dr. Dorothy, after that long introduction, you've probably just passed out already, you know. Now, do I still have you conscious, or do I have to do some allopathic or naturopathic resuscitation of you, some flower remedies, something?
All I can think of is she's been busy.
You know, whenever you hear your bio, you think, that's me? It's amazing, all that you've accomplished. So it's wonderful to finally meet you. I have a strong sense from the emails that we exchanged that we are true soul sisters and part of a very small soul tribe. And when I began to read your book and I saw the first thing you did was quote the Dalai Lama, women should take a more active role in society. The world will be saved by Western women. If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito, the Dalai Lama. When I saw the quote from the Dalai Lama, I thought, oh my goodness. I began Love Never Dies with a quote from the Dalai Lama because after my husband left his body from the bee sting, the Dalai Lama reached out to me, and I found out that he had publicly prayed for Jean, naming him as one of the 50 men of all time who was one with God. So I said, oh my goodness, we really have this synchronicity of connections. It's quite remarkable.
My God. Isn't that amazing how that happens?
It really is. And then, you know, when I heard more about your story, you know, and I'm all about, you know, the personal story, and I would like everyone, if you're comfortable with this, to hear a bit about your own struggle and how you came to be the powerhouse you are and the inspiration. Would you share a little bit?
Oh, certainly. And to take all of these years and put them in a few sentences, I began my life in an orphanage. I was taken from the hospital and put in an orphanage for a few years, and later adopted by a man who wanted to bring me home. He didn't believe that a good Irish child belonged in an orphanage of Boston, so I was adopted by an Irish alcoholic policeman and taken to the housing projects of South Boston, where I grew up, in a very alcoholic, violent home, and wanted a way out. And I was supposed to marry somebody who was an absolutely wonderful boy, I can say at the moment, more than a man, but a wonderful person. And yet I also wanted a way out of the housing projects, out of the city, and couldn't go to college. And I applied to nursing school, was told I went to an unaccredited inner city high school, so consequently I couldn't go to any nursing school in the United States. And so I ended up applying to become a Catholic nun to the Sisters of Mercy, and was rejected because the Catholic Church doesn't allow illegitimate children in the convent.
Is that a sin or what? Is that the most sickening thing I have ever heard?
Well, institutional religion is institutional religion.
It's institutional insanity, isn't it? I mean, what hypocrisy about, God is love. Oh, but we're not going to have you if you're an orphan. It is such hypocrisy. It's just unbelievable. So what happened next?
Yeah. So I did. One of my teachers asked about it and laughed and said, "Why would you want to become a nun? You spend so much time in detention. I would think you'd want some freedom." And my thought was they really did service. They were in social work, and they did it from a place of unconditional love and service of the Holy Spirit. And that's what drew me, was all developing this ability to be of service to the planet and to really support people living their best life, living who they truly are. And so she wrote to 1,000 communities around the globe and found one in Quebec that worked with prostitutes, so they said they would take a risk on an illegitimate child. They were under the bishop rather than under the Pope, so it was possible to do. And I
think maybe I'm going to say something sacrilegious. Under the bishop brought me these very X-rated images, so I'm totally irreverent. Hello, all my sponsors have just pulled out, if you'll pardon my pun. Oh, my gosh. I know my syndicator's going to kill me now. Oh, boy.
So many places we could go with that.
Oh my gosh. And then I had to go and, get it even worse with them just pulled out. So forget it. Just put all this behind us. Continue.
Oh, my God. Where do we go?
Oh, you didn't know what you were in for with me. Can you imagine me married for almost 30 years to a former Jesuit priest? I mean, it's inconceivable.
He was thrilled. Yeah.
He was wild himself. A French Jesuit, forget it. So go on.
The Jesuits.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
That is too funny. Thank God we haven't had any wine. All right.
See, this is part of. I'm living what you're talking about. Have your voice. Put it out there. Don't care what people think. Make a fool of yourself. Be who you are. Right? Because I'll keep going.
Every step of the way. Honestly,
right.
Isn't that what makes it so much fun? And so in any event, I entered this community. They were sending me to the missions. I was ecstatic to go to Africa. And, in fact, what they meant was Maine, because Maine is filled with French Canadians. So that's where they sent me. Mother Superior said, "I'm sending you to college." I said, "Mother, they won't let me in." And she said, "They will, sister." And when you think of these nuns with the long black habits and their hands in their sleeves, even college deans were intimidated. If Mother Superior said this is happening, it happened. And once you have your BA, nobody really cares where you got your high school education. So moving on, I got my master's. I became a physical psychotherapist in private practice. For many years, I was blessed with a 6-month waiting list that lasted for years. And I got bored for whatever reason, just because of the pattern every single day, and started to study integrative healthcare. And the more I got into it, the more I loved it. So the more certifications I got, the more things I studied, until eventually, without making it a conscious choice, I evolved into creating my own method of energy medicine, my own approach to the psychological and spiritual causes of disease, and ended up opening up a school. And for 19 years, I have the institute that you spoke about in the intro, and absolutely loved calling people to a full understanding of who they are, who they're meant to be. And it was an absolute joy. I loved it. And simultaneously, I started teaching in grad school. I was teaching in the graduate program for years. People who are becoming certified as marriage and family therapists. And, as life does, it moves on. We grow and we change. And eventually, my youngest left for college, and I had, at that point, founded 3 companies. And I decided, although I was highly successful at what the world would call that, I wasn't happy. So I packed up and moved to the Caribbean and lived on the island of Anguilla for 10 years, coming back to America I have phenomenal executive directors running my companies, and came back every 2 months to the States to teach or speak, and just did my life and loved my life, was very, very happy, and eventually came back to the States when I was asked to be co-chair of the advisory board of a multi-million-dollar frontier medicine grant UConn received, and I've been back since and have recreated my life up here in the States. So it's a very, very long story, but that's the quickest summary I can
Amazing. You're really an inspiration, because so often people get caught in the spilled milk story of our deformative years. That was a joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have awful experiences in our deformative years, and what you've done is you've turned your lemons into lemonade, and not just lemonade, a very sweet confection where you're expanding out to the world to really bring your mission to every kind of, women throughout the world. We all know what it is to have been oppressed in our first families, oppressed by society. Be quiet, be a good girl, be a people pleaser. It's funny, Dr. Dorothy, I went to Vassar College at undergrad, and they said when Vassar was all girls, the women spoke up. The minute they made it co-ed, the girls started succumbing to the Western cultural way of deferring to men, and they stopped being free, and they stopped speaking up in the same way in the classroom.
Isn't it just so sad?
Isn't it?
What we do to ourselves.
Isn't it?
What we do to ourselves based on conditioning from our past.
Exactly. And, it's hilarious because, look, here I am. I've got this incredibly powerful personality, right? And right after Jean left his body from the bee sting, my mother said to me, if you ever hope to marry again, make sure you do not speak to the man you're interested in. I said, you will threaten him, she says. I'm like, don't speak. I'm like, when should I speak? On the wedding night? On the eve of his funeral? When should I start to speak? Does that exactly talk about what you're saying?
Well, yeah.
That we have to be less.
Yeah. I got a similar message from my mother, and I was divorced for several years, and she said to me, you're just too independent. You don't need a man, so you're never going to get one. And I thought, that is one way of looking at it, isn't it?
Or maybe I'll get a guy who just wants to be with me as a partner, and we support each other, not out of weakness or need.
Yeah, and my need for him would be for who he is as a person, versus in order to help me make a bed or to fix something that broke or to survive.
Change a light bulb. All right, look, we do need them to put sunscreen on our back. I'll give you that. When I'm on the beach alone now, I'm like, darn, this is really a deficit here.
Oh, gosh.
I'm so bad. We are like two goofballs together. We're just meeting for the first time, and you could just see we're like two giggly sisters. It's amazing, right? Yeah. Grow up. No, and you don't want to grow up either.
No, God, no.
You don't.
No.
Never.
We've got, if we are truly conscious we are so socially aware of what is needed out here, the work we can do to help transform this planet, that in order to do the depth and the profound work